Hi there YouTube, how's it going? I'm bringing you another video of K-pop issues. Before I get into today's topic, I want to present you a story before we get started, and then we can open up the discussion. So, this story goes back to April 8th, 2012. I don't know if you guys remember, this was EXO's debut stage on Inkigayo, and on that particular day, all you needed to do to attend was basically be some of the first people to stand in line to go. Since nobody knew really much who they were, it was relatively easy to get into the pre-recording for EXO's Mama and History. They did theirs first in the morning. That same day was Sherlock by SHINee also being promoted. I also had that album because when it comes to music shows in Korea, you need to show that you're a fan or have an album purchase to be able to get into a pre-recording. I already had the little marking written down for EXO, so that was already expected. But what I noticed though is that when we got to see the live recording for EXO, the Shawballs were there in the back watching what too. So I'm like, oh, that's great. So that means that when it comes time for SHINee's pre-recording, we can go in as well. Well, when it came time for SHINee's pre-recording, which was, a couple hours later, they would not let the EXO fans go in. And I said, but I have the album. They told me, no, you're not allowed to go because you went with EXO. You're an EXO fan. You're not allowed to go as a SHINee fan. But I said, but I have the album. You let the Shawballs go see EXO. How come the EXO fans can't see SHINee? And the leader of the SHINee group looked at me and she goes, how do you know that? You're not supposed to talk to the SHINee fans. You're supposed to stick to yourself and do not talk to the other fans. Okay, excuse me, bitch. I'm sorry, but what the fuck is this about? It's the same damn company. We're together on this. I bought an album to prove I'm a fan. I don't understand I can only like one group. The idea behind that is incredibly unfair because how is it okay for the SHINee fans to be seeing EXO, but the EXO fans cannot see SHINee? This brings me to today's discussion about how K-pop has become more divided than ever. But here's the thing though, we got a particular topic here that can be taken two different ways. And one way you can argue that the K-pop is actually more close than it was. And in another way you would think, no, it's always been divided and it has been and nothing has changed. If anything, it might have gotten closer than it was before. This is where we were going to leave it open to discussion and we guys could let your form, because in the end, it's all about your own personal experiences and how it can shape your opinion about the whole matter. Everybody gets into K-pop for different reasons. Myself, I got into it because it was something different. It's something that I really enjoyed. I've left myself open for music and taken it all in because I really didn't want to limit myself to one group or one artist. That's boring. And as you can tell on my old Dare to Be channel, I tried my best to help spread and make K-pop bigger than what it already is. Let everybody know that there's more out there than this particular bias. Because let's face it, I find it very, very hard to believe that you can only like one group. Because in the end, there's something else that another group can offer just as much. Or if you continue to be so close-minded, then you're not going to really grow in the end. When I started to see more comments related to X fan here to support Y group, it unfortunately continues to separate the fandoms. The fact that the fandom names force us into a blind faith that you're only allowed to like one group, and if you like anyone outside of that group, you're considered a traitor. That's just my thoughts on that. Feel free to share your opinions on that matter. Going back years ago when we were as international fans, there weren't very many of us that were interested in K-pop. The fact that we were able to find other people that liked K-pop, it brought us closer together and we were able to share who we liked and be able to help create a special bond on this. Fast forward to today, I feel though with the huge amount of groups, the fact that it's a little bit more popular than it was years ago, as K-pop continues to grow, there are definitely more fans involved. With more fans, there's a lot more trolls, there's also a lot more fan wars. I don't know about you guys, but to me, it feels like there's more fan wars than there has been in the past. But granted, some people would argue that it was more severe in the past than it is now. You never really know, but the problem is with K-pop though, is that if we continue to be divided, and the fact that we only are allowed to like a few number of groups, or groups from this certain company, or whatever it may be, it prevents us from actually working together as a team to help make K-pop more globalized than it already is. Because here's the thing, K-pop as a genre, as a global industry, will never be able to get anywhere, as it's always harbored the idea that we are fans and fandoms and blind faith that comes all with that prevents us from actually being more open-minded to being multi-fandom, as you could potentially argue if it is more multi-fandom now or it was in past years. You can hash that out in the comments. But the idea that K-pop will always and forever be held back going forward if it never allows us to be more excited about the whole music industry as a whole, and only limiting ourselves to a company or one group. If we as an international community, who will be the driving force to make K-pop more global than it already is, we need to be working together and not against each other with fan wars to help make it more popular and a globally recognized genre and industry of music. Unfortunately, going forward, you could argue that this would be one of its flaws, or something that we could consider to help work together and move past. Maybe these such comments and fandom wars and bashing one artist to bring down to make their bias look good, and whatever such comments related to that is going to continue to hold us back. That's not going to help things in the end. I wanted to use this video as a way to discuss in the comments as to what do you think that K-pop is currently going towards. Do you think that K-pop is more divided? Do you think that we're closer more now than we ever were before? Or will K-pop forever be an industry constantly held back due to its ideals and habits ingrained upon us as fans? I kind of presented my own thoughts and experiences going into this, as I've been a YouTuber and living in Korea, and how this has already shaped my perception on this. Maybe you all have different perceptions yourselves. This is why we're going to be using this as a tool to see if we can help make K-pop bigger and better than what it is before in past years. Thank you all so much for watching. Let's work together as a team. We're in this together, everybody. Here's to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.